With the mid-season update coming as of next week, not only does that mean we'll see more content like we discussed as of recently here on the channel, but also that means changes and fixes coming to areas of concern throughout Cold War and Warzone. Today we're going to be taking a look at the changes that we know of that are confirmed, that are stated publicly that will be coming, as well as a few things that may be fitting into the update as well. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys hope to see fixed or changed here with the update that isn't necessarily so much content end, but elsewhere relating to the games? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down below, but hopefully enjoy the video. If you do, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing running all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related, especially as we round into the new update here as of this upcoming week. We're on that road to 400,000 subscribers, and we'll keep you up to date with absolutely everything. That said, let's talk about the changes coming and what you can expect. Now, of course, we do have those things that are coming in terms of content, like we mentioned, as of probably by the time of when this video goes up, yesterday's video, like potentially a new weapon. We have a couple of new maps of Golova, Miami Strike, Mansion, perhaps one of the two new operators here coming with it, perhaps Hardpoint in the multi-team designation, some changes to Outbreak and all things like that. But when it comes down to the more technical lens side of things, the changes that don't necessarily introduce new content, but instead change out or adjust existing content, one of the big things that has been confirmed as of the last couple of days is that of weapon tuning. Now, we actually haven't seen any weapon tuning since the middle of December, so this is a big one here and the first major tuning patch that we've had in over 3 months now at this point. But up on deck and up on the chopping block are that of the LC-10, the AK-74U, the MAC-10, the KSP-45, the Milano 821, the Krig 6, the FFAR, the Groza, the Magnum, the 1911, the RPG, overall LMG adjustments, and then the launchers being buffed against Flak Jacket and Hardcore with what is also described as plus more. Now, they did mention that patch notes are actually going to be coming earlier than the update, them coming on Monday, which is interesting. That'll be the first time in a while we have patch notes ahead of schedule, especially by that much, so that'll be interesting to see. If I'm taking some wild guesses, we're going to see some weapons like the LC-10, the 74U, those nerfed here, and then potentially other weapons like maybe the Milano 821 getting a slight buff here with that. So we'll see how all things work out and shape up, but that is probably one of the biggest pieces to the coming update in terms of technical changes. Now, outside of that, on the Cold War side of things, still, we end up seeing that we'll have some fixes here in some various number of areas. The combat record, for one, League Play actually is still not showing up properly in the combat record. On League Play's sense here, the in-game scoreboard is also something that's going to be fixed out, as that's still buggy. Dirty Bomb notifications are going to be fixed out here. In Zombies, there's issues with the Frenzied Guard field upgrade. There's some visual effects issues that are going to be ironed out here with that. And also, while not listed on something, say, like the Trello board, there are other changes mentioned on Twitter by Matt Schranz, lead game designer at Treyarch. The first of which is that of the hardpoint on Apocalypse. If you guys know, Apocalypse, of course, being introduced with Season 2 here, and also, interestingly enough, put into the rotation in the CDL in some capacity, but on hardpoint, the sort of underground hill by the crashed helicopter underneath the wooden catwalk here, you can actually access that hardpoint out from mid, so that you, while you put yourself into maybe a more high traffic area and risk exposure, you can still capture that hardpoint or contest it without actually being in the hardpoint. So that's something that is being looked at, and as mentioned, has a change that is scheduled, likely coming with the next update itself. Matt Schranz also mentioned the possibility of additional time penalties being introduced for those that leave League Play, potentially coming again in an upcoming update, likely even with this upcoming one for the mid-season update. Now, that's something that right now, if you play League Play, it only takes away ladder points and doesn't really do anything in terms of a probation period, like you'd see in the classic League Play formats, most notably within Black Ops 2. So that'll be definitely something that I think for League Play enthusiasts, that will help out greatly if more is introduced to combat players leaving. Zombies will likely have a whole host of technical changes, but publicly stated and mentioned beforehand, the only thing in relation to Zombies is that Frenzied Guard visual effects issue that has been mentioned on the Trello board. There's always usually some stability fixes and things like that that are very technical in the patch notes, but we just don't have that information just yet. So jumping over to the Warzone side of things, one big thing that has been publicly stated and is something that is stated on the Trello board that it does have a fix scheduled for the upcoming update is that of the armor plates not being lootable. This happens in various areas around the map, but the one that is probably the most prominent is that of right now in Superstore. My squad lands almost exclusively Superstore. It's center of the map. It's got all the rotations you can catch outside of it, and it's a high traffic area. So if you're somebody that likes to play aggressive, you're probably familiar with landing here. If not, you only exclusively land here. But if you do that, you'll notice that it's like a 50-50 that you find armor spawns on the ground and in chests. If you do, you're fine. It's not bugged, but there's a very high probability that you won't find any armor on the ground or in chests. And then the only time you can end up getting armor is that one piece that dead players drop at a time. And with them not being able to loot other armor plates as well, you're only getting one. So definitely not ideal when it, again, is such a high traffic area. It is something where there are so many gunfights you may need to challenge back. So to not have anything to heal up with, definitely nice to see that fixed out. It's been mentioned on the Trello board for a couple of weeks now, so nice to see. As for weapon tuning, that's something that is a big question mark right now. It's possible, and I would say likely, given that we do see such a large weapon tuning pass coming through Cold War, and also with, dare I say, an egregious meta right now within Warzone with the FFAR and AUG. While we don't have access to the percentage of the player base that uses these weapons almost exclusively, or comparatively where these weapons stack up in terms of usage, I would put money on the fact that the FFAR and AUG are by and far ahead of everything else at the moment. So those will likely be adjusted just to shift the meta, of course, also to bring them in line with competitive play for other weapons, but that isn't something that's been explicitly confirmed just yet. Another thing that is likely to be changed out here is that of dev errors. That's been something that since Season 2 has started has been plaguing Warzone. It was very bad for a little while. There was a fix deployed here for it in which it fixed it for a couple of days. Then we ended up getting more coming up in various locations, with some of them potentially being memory error leaks, maybe dependent upon your hardware. I know that on PC, some of the people that I end up playing with, if they have a different GPU or graphics card here than me, sometimes they get memory errors or dev errors that I don't get. So it might be dependent upon some specific hardware, but that's something that, again, just hopefully gets fixed out so that nobody has to experience that. Another thing that is a big question mark and that potentially, at least in my mind, makes the most sense is finally introducing zombies camos. Back with integration, it was said that zombies camos would not be introduced immediately, but they would be coming at a later point. Now, when you take a look at Season 2 within Warzone, as we've mentioned before, it kind of seemed like basically a zombies-themed season. I mean, in Cold War, you had Outbreak, a brand new extension, and a large extension at that for Cold War zombies. In Warzone, you had the introduction of a brand new point of interest, which brought zombies to Verdansk, and since then has spread them across the map in varying locations. So why not bring zombies camos now? That's, again, not confirmed, but a possibility. As for other explicitly stated changes, we don't really have much else. So while on the front-facing side, it might not seem like a whole ton is coming, of course, there's going to be things that is on the back end not mentioned here up until the update itself. So we do have a couple of things substantial that are being fixed out, adjusted, and other things also in the mix. The one big question mark, though, that I want to talk about here real quickly before we end up this video is the Modern Warfare concept that we've yet to see. Those couple of weapons, those operators, and those maps, because unfortunately, we don't really have any other insight into them just yet, but based upon that start of the season, and still in ultra rare cases, you can find things like the new weapons of the CX-9 and the RAL LMG, those coming out of those legendary loot caches in Warzone, which is usually indicative of when a new weapon will actually come to the game. We normally see that loot on the ground and in crates is connected with the content that we see coming throughout the season, especially when it comes to things that have shop bundles associated with them. It's kind of Activision's way of saying, hey, you like that? Well, guess what? It can be yours. So by all indication, we thought that it'd be coming as it's consistent with every other thing that we've seen introduced as ground loot within Warzone. But here's the thing that I don't quite understand, or that I theorize. We haven't really seen any specific bundle or introduction here for it, so if it doesn't come with this mid-season reloaded, it whittles down the possibilities of when it could actually come. Potentially, firstly, for a tethered bundle with a Modern Warfare 3 campaign remaster, if that actually ends up happening. There really isn't anything that has pointed towards this being something that is launching anytime soon, other than just the fact that, well, Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered happened as of last year, and it was rumored to be completed as of whenever that remaster went live. But last year's Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered came with a bundle for Ghost and a blueprint for the M4 and 1911 pistols. There's currently a SOAP bundle with blueprints included in the shop with one of the new weapons in an almost identical offering that Ghost had in terms of its tethered bundle. So that makes logical sense, but perhaps it's also reserved for a pre-order bonus way down the line for maybe COD 2021. But right now, if it doesn't happen with that mid-season update, we just honestly don't know, which I think to me is the most irritating part about all of it. We're kind of past that, okay, well, it's coming, to now the, okay, but really, when is it coming? Because it's been in the game files now for 5 months, almost half a year at this point. So weird to say the least, but that's something to keep an eye out for. But other than that, that's where we're at here at this, and that's where we're going to wrap up the video. So I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What are you guys looking forward to the most in terms of changes coming to either Cold War, Warzone, or potentially Modern Warfare? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so it's a single thing running all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get came outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But all that said, another way, thank you guys all so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.